Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be going over the XRacer EX90. This is a high quality micro, definitely one of the nicest I've ever tested. It's constructed using totally high quality parts, everything from the motors down to the frame, ESCs, and especially the camera are all premium products. This is the reason for the higher price point, but the question really is it worth it? By the end of this review, hopefully I'll have had that answered. First off, let's see what's all included. The entire package arrives inside this nice little case. It's a small case and it measures approximately 6.5 by 4 by 1.5 inches. My initial impression was, wow, there's really a quad in here? It really didn't look like it would fit. And to my surprise, it wasn't just the quad in there. It also included prop screws, two 8-inch super sticky Velcro battery straps, not one, not two, but three sets of Gemfan 2035 4-bladed props, and of course the EX90. Not only does this thing look good, it's constructed out of high-grade premium parts that performs even better than it looks. Starting off first, let's take a look at these motors. Now, normally a 90mm quadcopter would be fitted with, I don't know, 1102s or 1103, and the biggest being 1104s. But apparently, even 1104s weren't big enough for the people at XRacer, so they decided to drop in some Dragonfly 1105 brushless motors, which are rated at 7500 kV. And I am so happy that they did this because this little micro is a bullet. These powerful motors are so great that even after a throttle happy flight, the motors were never more than just warm. Without a doubt, it's the fastest under 100mm quadcopter that I've personally tested. And I'm 90% sure on this, so don't take my word for it, but I think it's actually the fastest in its class. Paired up with these motors are 4-bladed 2035 props from Gemfan, and you get 3 sets of these along with some prop screws, which are optional when flying 2S. I suggest using the screws if you plan on using a 3S, because the higher volts can increase the intensity at which the motors spin, and it can also increase the potential of a prop fly off. Next up, we have the runcam Swift Micro. It's got a 1/3 inch CCD sensor, 600 TVL resolution, and a 2.1mm lens. It accepts voltages from 5 all the way up to 36 volts. The camera is held in place by a 3D printed mount. It sits at a fixed angle, so unfortunately you won't be able to adjust the angle. To get an idea of what the picture quality is like, here's a brief clip from one of my flights. The detail is just so much better than any of the other micros that I've tested, but then again, it's pretty much on a whole nother level. They really shouldn't be compared with micros that are using CMOS cameras. I would say these are comparable to even the larger Swift Mini or HS1177. The bottom line is it's a great camera. Alright, so next up we have the Dragonfly VTX, which kinda has a weird shape to it. I don't think I've ever seen one like this before. It's kinda cool that it fits right into the cutout on the top plate. There's easy access to the button on the side to change channels, and it makes the LEDs visible, which tells you what channel you're on. I see a lot of people have their transmitter sitting on top, leaving it completely exposed. I'm sure it would not be a good day if they crashed their quads and it landed upside down. It's a good idea to throw that sucker underneath the top plate. I mean, it fits so perfectly, I don't see a reason why anyone would do it differently. The video quality has been okay, definitely not the best out there, as I seem to be getting static even when the quad is in front of me, sometimes just randomly. But for the most part, as long as I'm not flying behind a bunch of obstructions, it's fine. I can live with it. It's bearable. I noticed that it did start getting pretty bad when I was flying over the trees, but that's almost a given since there's a crap load of leaves and dipoles hate leaves. Next up, we have the flycolor Raptor S stack, which is comprised of an F3 flight controller and 4-in-1 BL Heli S ESC. Unlike basically all microquads, The EX90 went with the micro-sized SP Racing F3 flight controller. The one I received came with Betaflight firmware 3.15, and I'm hearing other people receiving 3.16 and 3.17, so maybe mine was one of the earlier ones. The flight controller is connected to the ESC using pins instead of wires, which makes things a lot cleaner. The board does have an OSD, but unfortunately it's not accessible through Betaflight. However, it is possible to edit the OSD settings using the serial pass-through on COM-port 2, but I just haven't really looked into it yet. You can also change some of the settings by using a transmitter. Once the OSD loads up, push the yaw stick right and at the same time pitch forwards. One other thing I wanted to mention about this board is that it doesn't use the MPU 6000, instead it uses the MPU 6050, which is the slower one, unfortunately. And because of this, both the flight controller and ESC are limited to max 4K. The ESCs are 12 amp BL-Heli-S, good for 2 to 3S lipos, and you can run up to DShot 600 at max 8K if it was running by itself, but in the EX90's case, it can only run at a max 4K since it bottlenecks at the flight controller. On the bottom is a decently sized hole where you can put your receiver in. The most narrow part is 8 millimeters wide, while the widest part is 12 millimeters, and from front to back it measures 50 millimeters long. This is a very good quality frame. They even beveled the edges, which just looks super clean. The arms have almost zero flex. You really have to put some force into it if you want to get it to bend. The carbon fiber frame is 2.5 millimeters thick all around. This includes the top plate and the main plate. And it's built like a tank. It's considerably heavier than any other 90mm micro that I've tested, but don't let that be a deterrent, as a lot of this weight is coming from the motors that will negate any potential ill effects from the added weight. Motors that produce 110 grams of thrust each. And last of all, on the back of the quad we have an XT30 connector and a 3D printed thingy with an LED inside. I'm happy that they used the XT30 connector here. With these micros becoming more and more power hungry, I think it's a good idea to have a connector and a thick enough gauge wire to be able to handle the higher current. As for the LED, it's pretty cool. It actually lights up the entire mount. Alright, so here's a few things that I changed in Betaflight. For S-Bus, make sure you select UART3. I chose DShot 600 and unchecked this box so that the motors will spin up as soon as I arm. This board is only capable of 4K because of the MPU 6050. Choose 8K and you'll see that the CPU load will jump to 100%. I use Acro and Horizon and have arm set to a switch. Here's what it looks like. As for tuning, I didn't really do much. I really just bumped up the rates a bit and I thought it flew good. I'll probably do a retune when I get a chance though. Finally got that done with. Let's go to the park and see how she flies. Alright, so here's some line of sight footage. Damn, this thing is fast. I'd be lying if I said I was surprised. I mean, I had a feeling it was gonna be fast. It's almost hard to keep track of it because it moves so fast, and I can't really fly it too far away because after like 50 feet it gets hard to differentiate the front from the back, or even the front from the side. On the website it says you get the same experience flying a 210mm quadcopter as you do with the EX90, and you know, I'm gonna have to agree. It actually does feel like a larger size quad. I think it would be cool to see this thing racing a larger size quad. I really wonder if it could keep up. There are so many great microquads out there, and it's so common to see the same thing over and over again, which is why when something's done differently, it can be a gamble. With the EX90, I think for the most part, the right decisions were made, and they came up with such an incredible little machine. I feel like deja vu, but this is my new all-time favorite quadcopter. It surpasses my expectations of what a great microquad is, and I definitely hope to see more like this. And I'm gonna quit talking now. Thanks very much for watching. See ya.